smart. You're just playing smart.
It's an important weekend for Julie Ertz, for example, because she has come back. She's really been trying to prove herself with Angel City that she should be taken to the World Cup. Vlatko has her in her squad. Do you feel like for her she still has something to prove, even though she's already on the roster?
Absolutely. I think when you're someone of Julie Ertz's ilk, you maybe in your head think, well, of course I belong on the World Cup roster. But you saw the reaction once the roster was put out. There were question marks as to why she's on there. 6 games in the season, came back from a big injury, found a club a little late. I mean, she got on the previous roster without her club. I think especially when you're someone like her, where you're expecting that she brings something a little more than just what she does on the pitch. She needs to be a leader on the pitch, but also needs to be a leader in the locker room. Maybe this last game is an opportunity for her to show that she is that person, that she can be the leader, the stronghold. I mean, she had a great game last game. She was only dispossessed once in 90 minutes. She's showing that she still has the skill. She's very obviously to me belongs on this squad, but I think she has to quiet some of the murmurs.
Well, there's a need. No one has taken that position and said, that's mine. You don't need to worry about Julie Ertz. And so Julie Ertz, you're coming back because you see I can still play. I can still contribute here for the U.S. Women's National Team. That's why she comes back. Now, on top of that, there's going to be a decline because you've been out for so long. You want to come in, make an immediate impact. You play hard, and then you're naturally going to have a dip. But Vlatko knows I can trust in her. I know what I can get. I've seen enough that I believe she's going to come in and make an impact with this U.S. Women's National Team. She may not start in the beginning, but I think as the tournament goes on, you're going to need that centerpiece, someone who has experience, and she's good on set pieces, good in the air, and a good tackler. I think you'll be able to use her in a lot of different ways.
Angel City also need her, though. They've come in and knocked that massive win against San Diego. They'll look to keep that momentum going. What about Savannah DeMello? Because she's someone that's really rejuvenated this Louisville side, and she's on the roster too.
Charlie on a soapbox.
Hey, don't get me going. She does so much for Racing Louisville. Just being a player who can, one, win back possession and then get into the attack on the dribble. What I've seen from her is, when you look at North Carolina coverage, they have one loss in the last 7 games in all competitions. So she's going against a strong opponent that has Emily Fox, starting left back for the U.S. Women's National Team, Casey Murphy, who's in contention to start, and then Denise O'Sullivan, who's a really quality midfielder for Ireland. Caroline, who has also been a very dominant winger for North Carolina. So I look at this as a challenge for Savannah DeMello because people are saying, how does she get called up?
Only
she has
play
no
with
experience
no caps.
With no caps in the U.S. Women's National Team.
Watch one Racing Louisville game.
She has a lot to stand by making an impact in this game. If they can get a result and then she balls, that gives you a whole lot of confidence to say Savannah DeMello is someone we can expect to contribute for the women in the women's.
What I like about her too is that a lot of what she does isn't just stat sheet. Like, she's kind of a sneaky player. You never know if she's going to make a pass or take a shot on goal, test the keeper. You never know if she's going to drive past the defender. There's something fun about watching her play because you don't know what she's going to do.
No, you watch her play, she stands out.
Yeah.
Because she's so good at finding space, getting on the ball, finding the ball. Because it's one thing to wait out and say, hey, I'm open, I'm going to find those areas and those gaps. But she goes and she can go find the ball and make the game.
She left it impossible, really, for Vlatko to leave her off with the form that she's in right now. What about Andy Sullivan and the Washington Spirit, Nico?
Going back to Alexis's conversation, if you look at the midfielders called up to the national team, there are a lot of 8s or creative midfielders, and that position in the 6, with Julie Ertz coming back in the conversation, is a question mark. So who else can take up that role? It's Andy Sullivan. The thing is that a 70% Julie Ertz can give you so much more than a lot of these women on this team because she's so dynamic. She's box to box. In that position,
in that role.
In that 6. And Andy Sullivan with Washington Spirit, who's top of the table, she plays a very interesting role. Washington Spirit, in fact, play a kind of a crazy formation. It's very uncommon in football with kind of like a false 9 and stuff like that. We're imagining Rose Lavelle is a lock. Even if she's not healthy, I imagine it's going to be Ashley Sanchez. And Lindsay Herrera is a lock in the midfield if Vlatko's going to play that 4-3-3, right? So Andy Sullivan she has the defensive capabilities. On Washington Spirit, she is a great patrol of that zone in front of the back line. The only thing to her game that I think when you come to a national team conversation is she's often not the first point of attack, or at least the priority in the build-up. She is great defensively.
She almost doesn't want to be involved in that either.
Right?
I mean, her skill set is like, I'll watch the back line, you go take care of that.
Especially, I mean, she has a great support system in Washington Spirit. Herrera has kind of come into the fold and been a great outlet. They like going to the wings. Sometimes they like skipping lines and finding the players up top that are good. They have quality. Ashley Hatch, Trinity Rodman, Ashley Sanchez can make things happen. But when you have a different response, especially for such a pivotal position where you have so much balance in a 4-3-3 on the women's national team, that's where the doubt, I think, is going to start settling in Vlatko's mind, and he might have a hunch to start Julie Ertz.
If you are Andy Sullivan, just very quickly, Chuck, are you going into this last game thinking, I need to prove myself that I am the starter, or this is my position to Vlatko, or are you looking at this game as, I'm already on the roster, let me finish what I need to prove at the World Cup?
I think you're always trying to prove yourself. Andy Sullivan, like you said, she's got a very unique role with the Washington Spirit in the way that she is really at the base of the midfield, protecting the back four. But with the U.S. Women's National Team, because Crystal Dunn gets so high, she's got to be able to provide that cover on the right back spot, in the right flank. So I think she gives stability to the U.S. Women's National Team. And in this game, you just want to see her, can she provide that cover a lot of ground, but also can we see a little bit more distribution from her in that role? Being able to spray Sophia Smith into space, or Alex Morgan, or Trinity Rodman, or Lynn Williams, whoever that may be.
I almost think you don't need to do that. I almost think if you're her, it's pass it to the other midfielder that's going to do that.
Right,
but give it to them.
That first point of attack.
Yeah.
On Washington Spirit, she does not drop between the center backs. The center backs spread, the full backs get high, and then from there she finds outlet passes to your eights, because your eights on the there is a plethora of eights.
Yeah.
There's too many.
She's got a lot of balance.
Gonna play. There's it's a question, because there's so many eights. There's 2 6s. So,
but if Rose Lavelle is not 100%,
right,
and
which is a big question,
and Vlatko is saying maybe we're going to get her to 100% by the end of the knockout rounds, that's when you could see Ashley Sanchez and Savannah DeMello get those minutes.
Yeah.